Jack Harmon stepped off the shuttle onto Galactic Academy Station with a relaxed smile. He looked around at the large open docking bay filled with strange beings from across the galaxy. Many of them stopped and stared at him. Jack didn't mind. He was used to being stared at since humans were still new to the galactic community. Jack was not very tall by human standards, just under 6 feet with broad shoulders and a strong build. He had short brown hair and friendly blue eyes. On Earth, he looked normal. Here, surrounded by thin, delicate aliens with extra limbs, strange colors, and odd body shapes, he looked like a walking tank. The air on the station felt thin to him, and the gravity was so light that he had to be careful not to jump when he walked. Everything on the station was set to standard galactic conditions, which were much different from Earth. "Student Harmon?" a voice called. A tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms approached him. The alien wore what looked like an official uniform with the Academy symbol. "I am Advisor Krill. Welcome to Galactic Academy Station." "Thanks," Jack said, extending his hand before remembering that not all species like to touch. He quickly dropped his arm. "Sorry about that. Human greeting habit." Krill's large eyes blinked rapidly. "No need to apologize. We have studied your customs. I am just surprised to see a human here. Your planet is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. Most species from such planets do not travel." Jack shrugged. "Earth isn't so bad once you get used to it." Krill made a sound that might have been a laugh. "That is what concerns us. Please follow me to your living quarters. We have made special arrangements." Jack followed Krill through wide corridors filled with students of all shapes and sizes. Some floated in the air, others slithered along the ground, and some walked on legs like him, though most had more than 2. They all moved away when they saw him coming. "Why is everyone keeping their distance?" Jack asked. "Safety protocols," Krill said simply. "Your file mentions that humans can break bones with their bare hands." Jack tried not to smile. "Only in emergencies." They arrived at a door marked with strange symbols and Earth's flag. Krill pressed a panel, and the door slid open. "Your roommate has been informed of human needs and safety guidelines," Krill said. "The room has been reinforced to handle Earth standard weight and strength. Your bed has been specially designed to support your dense bone structure." Jack wanted to explain that humans weren't that special, but he just nodded. "Thanks for making the changes." Inside the room, a creature that looked like a mix between a lizard and a butterfly stood nervously by the far wall. It had 6 limbs, shiny scales that changed color slightly as it moved, and 2 antennae that twitched nervously. "Student Harmon, this is Student Nelix from the Palaxian Federation," Krill said. "Nelix, this is the human student I informed you about." "Hello," Nelix said, his voice surprisingly deep for his small frame. "I have prepared the recommended 3-meter safety distance between our sleeping areas." Jack noticed that Nelix's bed and belongings were pushed as far away from the other side of the room as possible. A line had been drawn on the floor between the 2 sides. "You don't need to be afraid," Jack said. "I won't hurt you." Nelix's scales shifted to a pale blue color. "It is not fear. It is proper protocol for dealing with Deathworld species." Krill nodded. "I will leave you to settle in. Classes begin tomorrow. Your schedule has been loaded to your datapad." The advisor placed a thin tablet on Jack's bed and left quickly. Jack put his duffel bag down and sat on his bed. The frame creaked, but held. He looked at Nelix, who was still standing stiffly by the wall. "So," Jack said, "what's a Palaxian?" Nelix's antennae twitched again. "My species comes from Pelax, a low-gravity garden world in the Cygnus sector." "Cool. Sounds nice." "It is very pleasant," Nelix agreed. "No predators larger than a finger length, no weather extremes, and gravity at 0.7 standard." Jack nodded. "Earth has, different conditions." "Yes," Nelix said. "The database says Earth has over 100 species of predators that can kill sentient beings, extreme weather that can destroy cities, microorganisms that cause disease, and gravity 3 times the galactic standard. Is that accurate?" "Pretty much," Jack said. He unzipped his bag and began unpacking. Nelix watched with obvious interest as Jack took out his belongings. There was a physical book made of paper, a small potted plant, some clothes, a metal water bottle, and a pocket knife. "What is that sharp, metal object?" Nelix asked, pointing at the knife with one of his upper limbs. "Just a pocket knife," Jack said. "It's a tool for opening packages and stuff." "Our security briefing said humans carry weapons," Nelix said. His scales had turned a deep purple color. "It's not a weapon," Jack explained. "Well, I guess it could be in an emergency, but it's just a tool. Look." He opened the knife and used it to cut a loose thread from his shirt. Nelix moved back slightly. "On my world, we have no need for cutting tools in our daily lives." "Really? How do you open things?" "Most packages open themselves when touched by the owner," Nelix said. "Why would we design containers that need to be damaged to access their contents?" Jack laughed. "Good point." He put the knife away and took out the small plant. "This is a cactus from Earth. It's pretty hard to kill, so I thought it would travel well." Nelix moved closer, seemingly fascinated. "It has spikes for defense?" "Yeah. Where it grows on Earth, water is scarce, so the spikes keep animals from eating it for the water inside." "Your world forces plants to grow weapons," Nelix said, his voice filled with wonder and horror. "Fascinating," Jack continued unpacking, while Nelix asked questions about Earth. Most of Jack's answers seemed to shock the alien student, who took notes on his own datapad. "And you actually enjoy living in such conditions?" Nelix finally asked. "Earth is home," Jack said simply. "You get used to it." "I do not think I would survive one of your days," Nelix admitted. "And I might float away on your world," Jack said, with a smile. "That's why these exchanges are important, right? To learn about each other." Nelix's scales shifted to a warm orange color. "I suppose that is true. Though I must admit, when I was told I would be rooming with a Deathworlder, I requested a transfer. And now? Now I am curious," Nelix said. "But please keep that cutting tool on your side of the room." Jack laughed and promised he would. Maybe this year wouldn't be so bad after all. At least his roommate was talking to him now, even if there was still a line on the floor between them. As night cycle approached, Jack got ready for bed while Nelix watched with interest. "You sleep lying down, not suspended?" Nelix asked. "Yep. Flat on my back or side." "How strange," Nelix said. "On my world, we sleep in suspension fields to avoid pressure points." "Different worlds, different ways," Jack said as he climbed into bed. Tomorrow would be his first day of classes, and he wondered what other differences he would discover. One thing was certain: it was going to be an interesting year. Jack woke up early the next morning. The station's artificial lighting was still dim, simulating dawn. Nelix was still asleep, floating in his suspension field on the other side of the room. Jack quietly got dressed in his new academy uniform. It felt strange, lighter than Earth clothes, but somehow stronger. The material adjusted to his body temperature perfectly. The first class of the day was Comparative Planetary Ecosystems with Professor Zilnax. Jack found the classroom easily, thanks to the map on his datapad. When he entered, all eyes turned to him. There were about 20 students of different species sitting at curved desks. Jack noticed that the seat at the front was marked with Earth's flag. It looked bigger and sturdier than the others. As Jack sat down, the students nearby moved their desks a few inches away. One small purple being with 8 eyes actually got up and moved to the back row. The professor entered the room. Zilnax was tall and thin with 4 eyes and skin so clear Jack could see organs moving inside. Zilnax wore a flowing robe covered in what looked like scientific symbols. "Welcome, students," Zilnax said. "I am Professor Zilnax, your instructor, for Comparative Planetary Ecosystems. This course will examine how different planetary conditions shape the evolution of life forms." The professor's eyes all blinked at different times, which Jack found a bit distracting. Zilnax took attendance, calling each student's name and planet. When the professor reached Jack's name, there was a pause. "Ah, Student Harmon from Sol 3, also known as Earth." Our first human student. How interesting. All four eyes focused on Jack. Perhaps you can help us understand why your species developed such dense muscles and backup organ systems. Every student turned to look at Jack. He felt uncomfortable with all the attention but tried to answer honestly. We evolved alongside some pretty tough predators, I guess, Jack said. Lions, tigers, bears, they'll tear you apart if you're not careful. The classroom erupted in whispers and gasps. A student near the front with hair like tentacles instead of a regular head raised a hand. You share your living spaces with Apex. Predators? She asked, her voice filled with horror. Not our houses usually, Jack clarified. But they live in the same areas. My Uncle Greg lost his leg to a shark while surfing a few years ago. Surfing? Someone asked. It's when you stand on a board and ride ocean waves for fun, Jack explained. The tentacle-headed student's appendages curled tightly. You enter your planet's oceans, willingly, for entertainment? Sure, Jack said. Lots of people do. Though you have to be careful of sharks, jellyfish, stingrays. Oh, and riptides can drag you out to sea if you're not strong enough to swim against the current. A plant-like student in the back corner made a wilting sound. And your uncle survived this shark attack? Professor Zilnax asked. All four eyes wide. Yeah, he's fine now. Has a cool robot leg, Jack said. And my cousin Lily got attacked by a mountain lion while hiking last year. She fought it off with her walking stick and just got some scars. The professor's skin became so transparent that Jack could clearly see a heart-like organ beating faster. Your cousin fought an apex predator with a stick? Yeah, she's pretty tough, Jack said proudly. Oh, and there was this one time my high school had to close because a bear got into the cafeteria. A student in the front row, a being that looked like a flower with eyes, suddenly drooped and fell forward onto its desk with a soft thud. Is it okay? Jack asked, concerned. Just a temporary shutdown due to stress, Professor Zilnax said. Security protocols suggest we move on to less alarming topics. Student Harmon, perhaps we can discuss Earth's plant life instead? Sure, Jack said. We have some really cool plants. Some can eat insects and others have poisons that can kill you if you touch them. The flower student, who had just started to recover, drooped again. Professor Zilnax quickly changed topics to discuss gas giant ecosystems, but students kept glancing back at Jack with a mixture of fear and fascination. By the end of class, 3 students had requested transfers to different sections, and Jack heard Professor Zilnax making a call about safety protocols regarding the human. Jack's next class was Galactic History. He sat next to Neelix, who seemed less afraid of him after their night as roommates. Everyone is talking about you, Neelix whispered as they waited for the teacher. They say you fight wild animals on your planet. Not usually, Jack said. We mostly try to avoid them. But you could fight them if needed? Neelix's antennae twitched. With interest, I guess so. Humans are pretty good at adapting to threats. A student sitting in front of them turned around. She looked almost human except for her metallic golden skin and large compound eyes like an insect's. I'm Zara, she said. From Kelva. Is it true that Earth has weather that can destroy cities? Yeah, Jack nodded. We call them natural disasters. Hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, that kind of thing. Zara's compound eyes seemed to zoom in on him. And how do you survive such events? We build stronger buildings, create warning systems, and have emergency plans, Jack explained. Sometimes people still die, but we're getting better at preparing. Fascinating, Zara said. On my world, the weather changes so little that we can predict it centuries in advance. That sounds nice, Jack admitted. Earth's weather can change. In minutes. More students gathered around, asking questions about Earth. Jack told them about snowstorms, floods, droughts, and wildfire seasons. With each description, the aliens looked more horrified but also more interested. No wonder humans are built so sturdy, one student with 4 arms said. Your planet is trying to kill you all the time. I never thought of it that way, Jack said. It's just home to me. The Galactic History professor arrived, and everyone returned to their seats, but Jack noticed fewer empty spaces around him now. His stories had made some students afraid, but they had made others curious. After classes ended, Jack went to the cafeteria with Neelix and Zara. The food options were strange: nutrient mists, glowing jellies, and floating spheres of liquid. Jack found a station labeled Deathworld Diet that offered solid food bars designed for species with robust digestive systems. As they ate, more students came by their table to ask Jack questions about Earth. "Is it true humans drink poison for enjoyment?" asked a jellyfish-like student. "You mean alcohol?" "Some do, yes," Jack answered. "In small amounts, it doesn't hurt us much." "What about the daily radiation exposure from your sun?" another asked. "We put on sunscreen or just get tanned," Jack explained. "And you really experience regular temperature variations of over 30 degrees? A furry student with 6 eyes wondered. "Sure. In my hometown, it can be below freezing in winter and over 100 degrees in summer." The questions continued throughout dinner. Jack realized that what seemed normal to him was shocking to these students from safer, more stable worlds. By the time they finished eating, Jack had gathered a small group of fascinated followers who wanted to learn more about the strange Deathworlder and his dangerous planet. "I think you are becoming popular," Neelix said as they walked back to their room. His scales had shifted to a friendly yellow color. "I'm just talking about normal stuff," Jack said. "What is normal to you is extraordinary to the rest of us," Neelix replied. "Your stories make our world seem boring." Jack smiled. "Maybe someday you can visit Earth and see it for yourself." Neelix's scales turned a pale blue. "Perhaps, with the proper safety equipment." As they reached their room, Jack noticed the line on the floor between their sides had been erased. Neelix didn't mention it, but Jack took it as a good sign. His first day of classes had been strange but interesting. Tomorrow would bring new classes, new questions, and maybe even some new friends who weren't terrified of the human from Earth. 1 week after his arrival at Galactic Academy, Jack found himself heading to the physical education assessment. All first-year students had to complete this test to determine their fitness level and appropriate exercise regimen. The gymnasium was huge, with a high ceiling and equipment Jack had never seen before. Different areas had different gravity settings, marked by colored circles on the floor. Students from low-gravity worlds worked out in blue circles where they could feel more weight, while those from higher-gravity planets used red circles where they felt lighter. Coach Vrax, a four-armed alien with tough leathery skin, called the students together. He was from a species called Bruthans, known for their natural strength and durability. "Welcome to Physical Assessment Day," Coach Vrax said in a deep, rumbling voice. "Today we will measure your strength, speed, endurance, and flexibility based on your species' standard capabilities." The coach looked at his datapad. "We will start with student Harmon from Earth." All eyes turned to Jack. Word had spread about the human from the Deathworld, and many students had come just to watch him. "Which gravity setting would you prefer?" Coach Vrax asked. "We can adjust it to match Earth's gravity if that would make you comfortable." Jack shrugged. "Standard is fine." Coach Vrax frowned. "But student Harmon, your world has nearly 3 times our standard gravity. You would be at a disadvantage." "I know," Jack said. "But I've been in Earth gravity my whole life. This feels like I'm on the moon already." The coach looked concerned but nodded. "Very well. We will begin with the strength assessment." Jack was led to a machine with weights attached to it. The coach set it to what he called medium resistance for standard gravity species. Jack gripped the handles and pulled. The weights moved easily. "Too light?" Coach Vrax asked. "A bit," Jack admitted. The coach added more weight, then more again. By the time Jack felt he was getting a decent workout, a crowd of students had gathered to watch. The weight level was set to what the machine called heavy resistance for high-gravity species. "Impressive," Coach Vrax said, making notes on his datapad. "Now let's move on to speed and agility." The obstacle course consisted of barriers to jump over, ropes to swing on, walls to climb, and tunnels to crawl through. Jack completed it in record time, leaping over barriers that most students had to climb. "Is that normal for a human?" Zara asked from the sidelines. She had come to watch with Neelix. "Pretty normal," Jack said, barely out of breath. We have obstacle course races on Earth for fun. For fun, Neelix repeated, his scales turning a surprised orange color. Your species is strange. Next came the endurance test. Jack had to run on a track while sensors monitored his vital signs. After 30 minutes of continuous running, Coach Vrax stopped the test. That's enough, the coach said. Your heart rate and breathing are still within normal parameters. I believe you could continue for much longer. Yeah, Jack said, stretching his arms. On Earth, I usually run for about an hour. An hour? A jellyfish-like student wobbled in shock. Continuous running? It's called jogging, Jack explained. Lots of humans do it. Coach Vrax made more notes. I need to recalibrate our entire assessment scale for humans. You have exceeded all standard metrics. As Jack left the assessment area, he found himself surrounded by curious students. Is it true all humans are as strong as you? Asked a small furry alien with 6 legs. Not all, Jack said. I'm pretty average. Some are stronger, some are weaker. Average? The students looked at each other in disbelief. On my world, said a tall, thin alien with glowing spots on its skin, we never run unless there is danger. Why would you run for no reason? It's good exercise, Jack explained. It keeps you healthy. You mean humans exercise voluntarily? Another student asked. Sure. We have gyms where people lift weights, run on machines, and do all kinds of workouts. The students bombarded Jack with more questions about human physical activities. He told them about sports like football, basketball, and hockey. He explained marathons, mountain climbing, and swimming competitions. With each description, their eyes grew wider. Your species seeks out physical challenges, Zara said thoughtfully. You make yourselves stronger by choice. I guess we do, Jack said. He had never thought about it that way. By the end of the day, Jack had been invited to join 6 different sports teams and had been approached by the Academy's medical department requesting samples for study. Coach Vrax had asked him to demonstrate human exercise techniques to other students. That evening, Jack sat in the student lounge with Neelix and Zara. More students had joined them, including a blob-like being named Gloop, who could change shape at will, and a thin, tall student called Vix who had wings folded against his back. I have a question, Vix said, his wings twitching nervously. Is it true that humans intentionally expose themselves to heat until their skin changes color? You mean tanning? Jack laughed. Yeah, some people do that. They lie in the sun to get a tan. But your sun emits radiation, Gloop bubbled in confusion. That's why we use sunscreen, Jack said, to block the harmful rays. So you voluntarily expose yourselves to stellar radiation, but use a chemical barrier to prevent the worst effects? Zara's compound eyes zoomed in and out as she processed this. That is recreational? For some people, sure, I prefer swimming or hiking myself. Hiking is walking up mountains by choice? Neelix asked. His scales had turned a curious purple color. Exactly, Jack said. Some people climb mountains without any gear at all. It's called free climbing. A collective gasp went through the group. But you could fall, Vic said, his wings now fully extended in alarm. That's part of the challenge, Jack explained. Testing your limits, pushing yourself to do better. The alien students looked at each other, then back at Jack. Humans are scary, Gloop said finally. We're not that bad once you get to know us, Jack said with a smile. After his new friends left for the night, Jack sent a message to his parents back on Earth. He described the academy, his classes, and his new friends. He mentioned how everything from Earth seemed strange and frightening to the other students. They think we're all super tough, he wrote. Just because we can handle a little bad weather and some exercise. You should see how careful they are about everything. No one here has ever broken a bone or gotten a scar. They've never felt real rain or snow. It makes me appreciate Earth more, even the hard parts. As Jack got ready for bed, he noticed Neelix watching him. What's up? Jack asked. I was thinking, Neelix said, his scales shifting to a thoughtful blue color. Perhaps being from a death world is not as bad as we all thought. It makes you adaptable. Jack smiled. That's one way to look at it. Tomorrow is temperature adaptation. Class, Neelix said. I think you will surprise everyone again. We'll see, Jack said as he climbed into bed. To me, it's all just normal life. But as he drifted off to sleep, Jack realized that his normal was anything but normal to the rest of the galaxy. And that made being human pretty special after all. 3 months into the semester, Jack was woken by a loud alarm. Red lights flashed in his room and a computerized voice repeated, "Environmental emergency. All students report to common areas. This is not a drill." Jack sat up and rubbed his eyes. The room felt a bit cool, but nothing serious. Across the room, Neelix was shivering violently, his scales a pale blue color. "What's going on?" Jack asked, getting out of bed. He was wearing just shorts and a t-shirt. Temperature catastrophe. Neelix stuttered through chattering mandibles. "The ASA system has malfunctioned. We must go to the C common room, Jack." Check the room's information panel. The temperature had dropped from the standard 24 degrees Celsius to 17 degrees. "That's it?" Jack said, surprised. "It's just a little chilly." A little. Neelix wrapped himself in his blanket. "This is dangerous for many species." Jack helped his roommate to the door. In the hallway, students rushed toward the common area, many wrapped in emergency thermal blankets. Some were being carried by medical drones. "Aren't you cold?" Neelix asked as they walked. "Not really," Jack admitted. "It feels like fall back home. Maybe I should get a sweatshirt if it gets any colder." The common area was packed with students huddled together. Heat lamps had been set up and medical staff distributed hot drinks and more thermal blankets. Jack guided Neelix to a heated section and made sure he was comfortable. "I'm going to get breakfast," Jack told his roommate. "Want anything?" Neelix looked at him in disbelief. "You're going to eat now?" "Yeah, I'm hungry. Emergency or not, I need food." Jack walked through the crowd toward the cafeteria. Students and staff stared at him as he passed, dressed only in his sleeping clothes with no signs of discomfort from the cold. The cafeteria was nearly empty except for a few staff members wearing thermal suits. They looked surprised to see Jack. "Student, you should be in the common area," one of them said. "I just came to get food," Jack explained. "Is the kitchen open?" "Yes, but..." The staff member looked confused. "Aren't you affected by the temperature drop?" Jack shrugged. "It's not that cold to me." The staff gave him a tray of food, and Jack returned to the common area. When he arrived with his breakfast, a group of medical staff rushed over to him. "Human student," a doctor said, scanning Jack with a medical device. "Are you experiencing numbness, dizziness, or confusion?" "No, I feel fine," Jack said, taking a bite of his food. "This kind of temperature is normal on Earth?" The doctor's eyes widened. "Normal? 7 degrees below standard is normal?" "Sure. Where I live, it gets much colder in winter. Sometimes it's below freezing for months." Word spread quickly about the human who was unaffected by the temperature catastrophe. Students gathered around Jack, asking questions. Even the medical staff seemed more interested in him than in the emergency. "Your planet has temperature variations this extreme?" asked a student named Bree. She was from a desert world and had been placed on oxygen support due to stress from the cold. "Much more extreme," Jack said. "In my hometown, it can be below freezing in winter and over 30 degrees Celsius in summer." "And you survive these changes?" another student asked. "Of course. We wear different clothes, heat our homes in winter, and use air conditioning in summer." "What is freezing?" a small fuzzy student asked from inside a heated pod. "It's when water turns to ice. 0 degrees Celsius." The students looked horrified. "And it gets that cold on your planet?" Bree asked. "Regularly?" "Yeah, we have snow in winter, frozen water that falls from the sky." "Frozen precipitation?" A collective gasp went through the crowd. "It's beautiful, actually," Jack said. "Kids build snowmen, go sledding, have snowball fights. You let your young expose themselves to frozen precipitation? As recreation?" Another student seemed ready to report him to Child Protection Services. "Of course. Kids love snow days," Jack said. "My brother Kyle and I built a snow fort last winter, and had a massive snowball fight with the neighborhood kids. Throughout the day, engineers worked to fix the environmental systems. Students remained in the common area, huddled under thermal blankets. Jack offered to help the maintenance crew, since the cold didn't bother him. They gladly accepted, and he spent hours carrying tools and holding equipment while they worked in the coldest parts of the station. By evening, the environmental systems had been repaired, and the temperature slowly returned to normal. As students returned to their rooms, Jack found himself surrounded by classmates wanting to know more about Earth's seasons. So your planet is partially covered in frozen water for entire seasons, and you just live with it? Asked Bree, who had recovered enough to walk on her own. We've adapted, Jack explained. We build insulated houses, wear warm clothes, and some people even enjoy winter sports like skiing and ice skating. Intentionally sliding on frozen water? Someone asked. For fun? Yeah, it's great, Jack said. Humans are good at adapting to different conditions. That night, Jack received a message from Professor Zilnax asking if he would give a special presentation about Earth's weather patterns in the next Comparative Planetary Ecosystems class. Jack agreed happily. As he got ready for bed, Neelix watched him with new respect. You helped fix the environmental systems, Neelix said. His scales had returned to their normal green color. The engineering crew said you worked for hours in sections that were too cold for them to stay in long. It wasn't a big deal, Jack said. It felt like a nice cool day to me. The medical staff are calling you the freeze-proof human, Neelix said. They want to study your biological resistance to cold. Jack laughed. Wait until they find out about humans who go ice swimming or take polar plunges. What is ice swimming? Neelix asked cautiously. It's when people cut holes in frozen lakes and jump into the water for fun. Neelix's scales turned a pale blue again, but this time not from cold. Your species is truly remarkable, Jack. We're just used to tough conditions, Jack said. Every species adapts to their home world. Yes, but most species avoid danger, Neelix pointed out. Humans seem to embrace it. Jack thought about that as he lay in bed. Maybe Neelix was right. Maybe humans were different in how they approached challenges. They didn't just survive on their dangerous world. They found ways to enjoy it, to turn threats into opportunities for fun and growth. The temperature incident had changed how the Academy saw him. He was no longer just a curiosity from a Deathworld. He was a valuable resource, someone who could handle conditions that others found dangerous. For the first time, Jack felt truly proud of being human, of coming from Earth with all its dangers and challenges. Tomorrow he would tell his classmates about thunderstorms and how humans still went out in the rain, about how people watched tornadoes instead of hiding from them, about beach days during hurricane season. And he would help them understand that what made Earth dangerous also made it beautiful and exciting. As the academic year neared its end, Galactic Academy announced the annual Cultural Exchange Festival. Each student would represent their home world, sharing their culture, traditions, and environment with the rest of the Academy. You will be the official Earth representative, the dean told Jack during a meeting in his office. Dean Zormax was a tall, thin alien with 6 eyes, arranged in a circle around his head. Since you are our only human student. Jack nodded. I'd be happy to. What should I prepare? Most students create displays about their world. Food samples, images, cultural items, whatever you think would help others understand Earth. Jack spent the next week planning his Earth display. He asked his parents to send items from home, and they shipped a package with photographs, small objects, and shelf-stable Earth foods that had been approved by Academy Customs. The day of the festival arrived. The main hall was transformed with booths representing over 50 different worlds. Jack set up his table between the quantum harmony display of the tachyons and the telepathic art gallery of the mentalites. His simple table featured photographs of Earth's diverse environments: mountains, deserts, oceans, forests, and cities. He had samples of preserved Earth foods like honey, chocolate, and beef jerky. A screen showed a loop of video showing everyday Earth activities: people surfing, hiking, snowboarding, and playing sports. At first, students gathered in nervous clusters, daring each other to approach the Deathworlders' display. But curiosity soon won out, and Jack found himself surrounded by aliens eager to learn about Earth. "This," Jack explained to a wide-eyed group pointing to a photo, "is my friend Alan surfing during a storm." "Intentionally?" gasped a jellyfish-like student from the back. "Of course, the waves are best during storms," Jack replied with a grin. He showed them images of rock climbers scaling cliffs without safety equipment, divers swimming with sharks, and skydivers leaping from aircraft. "For enjoyment?" was the most common question, always asked in tones of disbelief. "Yes, for fun," Jack would answer. "Humans like challenges." The food samples caused even more excitement. Many species could not eat solid food, but those who could were eager to try Earth cuisine. "This contains sugar?" asked Zara, examining a piece of chocolate. "The substance you told us is mildly addictive to humans?" "Yes, but in small amounts it's fine," Jack assured her. "Just take a tiny bite." Zara's compound eyes widened as she tasted the chocolate. "It's intense, but good." Neelix was more hesitant. "Your food fact sheet says this jerky is preserved animal muscle tissue." "That's right, beef from cattle. And you eat other animals?" Neelix's scales turned a surprised purple. "Some animals, yes. Many humans do, though some choose not to." By midday, Jack's booth was one of the most popular at the festival. Students lined up to see his photos, taste his food samples, and ask questions about Earth. Even the professors stopped by, curious about the Deathworld that had produced such a resilient species. "Is it true that young humans intentionally ride small-wheeled platforms down steep hills?" asked Professor Zilnax, examining a picture of skateboarders. "Skateboards?" "Yes, they're very popular," Jack said. "And falling is common. Pretty common, especially when learning. I broke my arm twice learning to skateboard." The professor's skin paled. "You suffered bone fractures, for recreation?" "It healed," Jack said with a shrug. "Most human injuries do." The festival culminated in a talent showcase, where students demonstrated unique abilities from their worlds. Jack had been asked to participate, but he wasn't sure what to show. "What skills do humans have that might interest others?" he had asked Neelix and Zara. "Perhaps demonstrate your physical resilience," Zara suggested. "Or your ability to eat solid food quickly," Neelix offered. In the end, Jack decided to demonstrate basic martial arts. He set up a stack of wooden boards on the stage and explained that even human children learn to break them as part of their training. "On Earth, many people learn combat techniques as a form of exercise and discipline," he told the audience. "These wooden boards are similar to materials we use for practice." The hall fell silent as Jack took a deep breath, focused, and broke through 5 stacked boards with his bare hand. The crack echoed through the room, followed by gasps from the audience. "That was your hand against solid matter," one student said in disbelief. "Didn't it hurt?" another asked. Jack showed them his hand, slightly red but not injured. "Not really. The technique is about focus and proper form." Several faculty members made notes on their tablets, and Jack later heard they had updated their risk assessments regarding human students. After the festival, Jack's closest friends gathered in his room for a small Earth-style party. Neelix, Zara, Gloop, Vix, and Bree sat in a circle as Jack shared stories from home. "I can't believe the academic year is almost over," Bree said. "It feels like you just arrived." "I know," Jack agreed. "I've learned so much about all your worlds." "And we have learned about Earth," Zara said, "though I still find it hard to believe half of what you tell us." Jack laughed. "I understand. Your worlds seem just as strange to me sometimes. Will you return next year?" Neelix asked. His scales had turned a hopeful green color. "Definitely," Jack said. "I'm already registered for advanced classes." "Perhaps," Neelix hesitated. "Perhaps some of us could visit Earth someday." The room went quiet. Jack looked at his friends' nervous but curious faces. "I'd like that," he said honestly. "You'd need some preparation and safety gear, but I think you could handle a visit. With proper hazard pay and life insurance adjustments, Vix added, only half joking. On the last day of the academic year, Jack's friends presented him with a farewell gift. A custom uniform patch that read Deathworld Survivor in Galactic. Standard. We had it made in reinforced material, Zara said proudly. Regular fabric would probably disintegrate in Earth's harsh atmosphere. Jack laughed but accepted the gift with real appreciation. I'll wear it when I come back next year, he promised. As he packed his belongings, Jack reflected on his year at Galactic Academy. He had arrived as a curiosity, the strange human from a dangerous planet. He was leaving as a respected member of the Academy community, having taught others about Earth while learning about dozens of different worlds and species. When Jack boarded the shuttle that would begin his journey home, Dean Zormax was there to see him off. Student Harmon, the dean said, all 6 eyes focused on him. I must admit that when you first arrived, many of us were concerned about hosting a Deathworlder. Those concerns were misplaced. Thank you, sir, Jack replied. In fact, I have approved the acceptance of 3 more human students for next year. Your success has opened the door for greater human participation in galactic education. Jack smiled. That's great news, though you might want to schedule them in different semesters. The dean's eyes blinked in sequence, his version of a laugh. Indeed, one Deathworlder at a time may be wisest. As the shuttle pulled away from the station, Jack thought about all he would tell his family. About his alien friends, about the different worlds and cultures he had learned about, and about how his normal Earth life seemed like incredible survival stories to others. And he thought about what he hadn't yet told his Academy friends, about earthquakes, tornadoes, and the time his neighbor Susan fought off a home intruder with a baseball bat. Next year was going to be even more interesting.